Everybody. My name is Denny Mortimer. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm a former college coach all over the country, and I wanted to share with you some important information regarding the college recruiting process. So, first, we want to start with the goals of the presentation. Um, we want to talk about scholarships and the divisions and how the divisions of NCAA, NJCAA, how they dictate dollars, how it correlates. So if you're Division One, how does that correlate to athletic scholarship money? If you're Division Three, how does it correlate to athletic scholarship money? Our second goal of the day is to give you like an overall understanding of the college athletic Maryland landscape specifically. Um, that will help you to strategize, um, trying to figure out what colleges you have the best opportunity of receiving athletic scholarships to. Thirdly, strategic. That's a huge word in this presentation. Nowadays, you have to be more strategic than ever when trying to get opportunities to participate in college athletics or receive an athletic scholarship if you're fortunate enough. All right, a little bit about my background. So I've coached pretty much every level except Division One NCAA and NAIA colleges. So I coached at the lower levels. I've coached at non-scholarship programs, and I've coached at scholarship at colleges with full athletic scholarships. So Hagerstown Community College, that is a Division One NJCAA community college. University of Bridgeport, they are a Division Two NCAA college. Linden State College, a state college up in Vermont, that's a Division Three NCAA college. Garden City Community College, that was a Division One junior college in Kansas. And then University of District of Columbia, UDC, a Division Two NCAA school in Washington. Um, all right, so how does the levels dictate the amounts of scholarship, athletic scholarship money available? So let's start with Division One NCAA. The majority of NCAA Division One schools offer full athletic scholarships for some sports, not all sports, but most sports. The Ivy League technically is the only Division One conference within Division One NCAA that does not offer athletic aid. Um, Division Two NCAA schools, that's a very interesting one because we do not know what the budget is at the scholarship budget is at a Division Two NCAA school. Some schools will have full scholarships at the Division Two level. Some Division Twos only have partial scholarships. And when we talk about scholarships, we're talking about two things, right? We're talking about tuition and books and room and board. Those are the two things. If you get both, that's a full scholarship. So just be mindful of that. Division Three NCAA, they do not offer athletic scholarships, but I guarantee you that somebody on the staff knows someone. They have some pool within, the financial aid office or the admissions office or somebody in the foundation office where they can somewhat get some extra funds for your college education. We also have Division One NJCAA schools. So, what is the difference between? So, those are your junior colleges. What's the difference between a Division One NJCAA school and a Division Two NJCAA school when it comes to scholarship dollars? So, a Division One NJCAA college, if they have the funds available. So, just keep in mind when we talk about Division Two NCAA, Division One NJCAA, these are all max amounts. So, if they have the money available, they can offer if, right? So for Division One NJCAA, if they have the money available, they can offer you a full scholarship, which includes tuition and books and housing and meals. Division Two NJCAA, their policy is they can only offer you one or the other. So they usually in most cases will offer you tuition and books. And then in a lot of cases, if you receive your FAFSA, they'll use your FAFSA to cover your room and board. Division Three community colleges, they do not offer athletic aid. Um, NAIA colleges, this is a good one. In the state of Maryland, we only have one NAIA college, Washington and Venice College. there's a lot of people who are unfamiliar, but there are a lot of NAIA colleges that have full athletic scholarships. We definitely encourage you to explore those schools as well. They did away with their divisions, I think maybe about 5 years ago now. So there's no, Division One NAIA, Division Two NAIA. It's just NAIA. And then once again, when we were talking about these scholarships, these are policies, right? So if they have that money available, then they can give it. But that does not mean that they have the money available. Okay, so understanding the Maryland college athletic landscape. All right, so we want to talk about the challenges and what we're facing when we're trying to receive opportunities and trying to capture athletic scholarships. All right, within the Maryland State Community College system of athletics, you have 17 programs. Now, these 17 programs, you'll have Division One Maryland community colleges, Division Two, Division Three. I think in the state of Maryland, we have five Division One community colleges. I will tell you right now, within the Maryland Community College system, they are not as important as some other states, right? We have some athletic scholarship money available at the Division Two and Division One Maryland Community College level, but schools aren't giving out full athletic scholarships in the Maryland Community College system. I'll be frank with you. When I was at Hagerstown Community College, we were considered a Division One NJCAA. Our full athletic scholarship budget while I was there was $13,300. Basically, I was giving out $1,500 book stipends to everybody who wanted to participate on the team, and we were considered Division One. So that goes to show you that just because you're a Division One junior college does not mean that you have full scholarships. But there are a lot of Division One junior colleges that do have full scholarships. All right, Division Two NCAA programs. We have two in the state of Maryland, Frostburg State and Bowie State. If they have the funds available, they can offer full scholarships. In both cases, most of those schools are giving out partial scholarships, and then they're able to find some other funds that can usually leave you with a remaining balance of $0. For Division Three schools in the state of Maryland, you can see what do we have about 9 or 10. They do not give out athletic aid, but once again, they can find you dollars from other pots of money that they usually can help you receive. And then NAIA colleges. This is an important one in the state of Maryland because we're not really familiar with the NAIA colleges. We do have one, Washington and Venice University, formerly known as Columbia University. Um, they're very similar to the structure of a Division Two NCAA school when it comes to athletic scholarships. We don't know what their budgets are, but we do know if they have full scholarships, they can offer those full scholarships to you. Some do have full scholarships, some do not. Some only have partial scholarships. Some do not give out any athletic scholarships. So that's up to you to do your due diligence and knock on as many doors as possible to try to see if that's a possibility for your student athlete. Um, all right. I wanted to touch on this real quick because this just passed. I think it was June 22nd, maybe about 2 weeks ago. It's the new NCAA 5-for-5 rule. So basically, it's you have you get to play 5 years now. You know, traditionally you only got to play 4 years of college athletics. Now you get to play five. Um, but it starts immediately. So right when you graduate high school, your clock starts. Essentially, there's no such thing as redshirting anymore. Redshirting is going to be a term that no one uses in the next 3 to 4 years. That's done. Um, they will, and keep this, sorry, be mindful. This is a Division One NCAA rule that has passed. This is the only division that it affects right now is NCAA Division One. So they will allow you a one-time transfer where you can play right away. But if you do another transfer after that, you have to sit out a year. So essentially, you would be losing a year of your 5 years. Division Two, they will receive the ruling in the next week to 2 weeks, whether or not they're going to adopt the same policy. It's more than likely they will. Division Three, this is not a rule that affects Division Three as of yet. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll see Division Three adopt the same policy. Um, and medical red shirts, it doesn't matter anymore. All of it is out the window. I will say there was a hot topic maybe a year ago where people would say, well, if you go to junior college, those years of eligibility won't count against you. That is not true. They will count against you. Uh, all right, how to gain interest. So one of the big challenges is in the state of Maryland, there is not a lot of college athletic scholarship money outside of the Division One NCAA schools. There's not. If you are a Division One NCAA prospective athlete, this is a great part of the country to be in. But say you're a Division Two NCAA full scholarship potential athlete, and you're just not getting the traction, and a lot of that has to do with where you're at on the map. So that is a challenge for us, along with some other states, where we really have to do a good job of being proactive and you know reaching out to these colleges and trying to build a relationship. Digital profile. So a lot of people know the number one social media that college coaches are using is Twitter. You definitely, as a student athlete, should have a Twitter account. You want that to have your height, your weight, your position, and most importantly, one of the most important things is you want to pin your huddle or your highlight tape at the very top. So no matter how much you tweet, that will always be at the top of your profile. You want coaches to be able to find that information right away. Um, FAFSA. FAFSA is very important. I don't think a lot of people know that there are a lot of college coaches at the lower level that have full scholarships that technically cannot offer you a full scholarship or any athletic aid without receiving your FAFSA first. That is part of their school policy. FAFSA opens October 1st for our seniors this year. We definitely encourage you, no matter what your financial status is, to complete the FAFSA. Like I said, that is a policy not only for athletic aid, athletic scholarships, but in general, academic scholarships that most colleges offer. Or if the college is going to offer you some of their financial aid money, they will not offer that to you until they receive your FAFSA. So that's very important. Um, Proactive outreach. Okay, so because we're in the state of Maryland, one of your biggest challenges when it comes to being recruited and receiving these opportunities at athletic scholarships is that a lot of people's athletic recruitment budget is very little. So let me give you an example. When I was at University of Bridgeport at the time, we had full scholarships, but our athletic budget to travel and recruit students was not much. So knowing that, you need to come up with ways to figure out when maybe out of area colleges are in town. I think last year, I think it was the first year we had the CIAA tournament in Baltimore, which I think is an amazing thing for the state of Maryland. That's one of those times of year where maybe a week or two before that tournament, you want to send out emails and do outreach to those specific colleges, right? They have athletic scholarships, they're in the area, they'll usually have a day or two in between their games. You might be able to get them to come out and check you out at that time. And if you really want a higher probability of them coming to your game or coming to one of your practices during that time, you want to begin the outreach to build that relationship as soon as possible. It's very, very important. One other thing about that, you can always ask college coaches, how do you guys go about evaluating players? Like, where do I need to be at to get evaluated? There are a lot of events that, are trying to make money, and they might not necessarily have college coaches at those events. A piece of advice that one of my friends who's a college football player, college football coach gave me was that you should always try to go to camps on college campuses. So, for example, for my football people, Morgan State and Towson University, they do great football camps. And it will not just be the Morgan State or Towson University football staff there. There will be other college football staffs there as well. So that's a good strategy when trying to get evaluated and get in front of those college coaches. Always be honest. I will tell you right now, the college coaching world is a small world amongst coaches. And if I'm looking at you and I'm recruiting you, and we have a conversation, I'm probably going to ask, are you receiving interest? Are you receiving offers from other colleges? Be very, very honest. Because if you tell me, yeah, I received an offer from Bowie State, the chances are when I get off the phone, I'm going to call one of my buddies over at Bowie State and be like, hey, I just talked to such and such. He said you guys offered. What do you guys think about the kid? And then the guy from Bowie State says, well, I never heard of him. Well, guess what? You're off the board. Like that just sets you back, and there's pretty much no recovering from that. So be very, very honest. Cast a wide net. I would suggest always to start with your local colleges. Obviously, based off proximity, it's going to be easier to get those colleges in your practices, in your gyms, on your football fields, because they are local. If they really want to make it happen, they can. So start with your local colleges. Be responsive to coaches. I will tell you this is a major pet peeve for pretty much every college coach I know. If they are reaching out to you and you are not getting back to them within 2 or 3 days, you're not being responsive, they're going to take it as you're not interested in their program. So if that is an opportunity, if there is a coach that's reaching out to you, that means something. And that's something that you should build on. College coaches, they jump around all the time. So a college coach might be at one college this year and another college another year. I think sometimes players will look at D3 college coaches sometimes and other levels of college, and not be responsive. Be responsive because that same coach, he might be a Division I coach, or he might have a full scholarship next year, or he one of his buddies is at another school. Always build those relationships and be responsive with those coaches. Getting evaluated, we touched on this on the previous slide with the Morgan State, Towson University camps and the CIAA tournaments. Another thing for certain sports, for some of my basketball people out there, there are open gyms. Once the college season is over, there are a lot of colleges where you can go on their campus and sometimes play against their team and get evaluated in the open gym. So that is a great way for you to maybe get a scholarship offer that you otherwise wouldn't have had. Football, there's not really like an AAU circuit. So, the next closest thing for football would be the camps. Invite coaches to your games. When you invite coaches to your games, just make sure it's a competitive game. No college coach wants to go to a blowout. Whether or not your team wins or your team loses, it is very hard to evaluate a player in a blowout game. So be very selective of what games you invite coaches to. And if there's an opportunity for you to match up against someone in your position that already has scholarship offers, that's another good strategy to take because now as a college coach, they can be more confident in offering you based on the fact that what you did, you just did it against someone who already has an athletic scholarship offer. Network with athletes. So if you know someone who has a scholarship offer, or is on a college team, pick their brain. Ask them, like, what was your process like? Was there someone who helped you get that scholarship? Those are always important relationships and resources to take advantage of. And, just be as proactive as possible. Emailing college coaches. Make sure when you email a college coach, it's either the head coach or assistant coach from their staff. Do not send an email to multiple colleges. I will tell you right now, as someone who's a former college coach who used to get emails every single day of potential players, if I saw any other college coaches from another college on that email, I'd skip right past it. Take the time to email them individually. I know it's a lot of work, but trust me, it pays dividends. Also, another suggestion would be the college staff directories. When you hop on these college athletic websites, you can always go to their athletic directory and you can find phone numbers. A lot of times those phone numbers go to an office phone and a lot of times nobody picks up, but you can leave a message. And I will tell you, to some, very few, but there are some, and some full scholarship programs as well, that their staff directory, the phone number you see on there, goes directly to their cell phone. So if you can find what colleges those are, that puts you right away, like you can send a text to a coach. Coaches aren't always responsive to their emails, but when it comes to their text messages, they are. And if you send them a highlight tape on the text message or a game tape on the text message, you have a higher probability of them checking that out as opposed to an email. So if you can get college coaches' cell phone numbers, get them. It's very important. All right. So there's certain phrases that college coaches will use. And if you're not a college coach, you may not understand exactly what it means. So we want to break this down a little bit. So sometimes a college coach may be interested in you, may want to offer you a scholarship, and they'll say, well, we can zero you out. We can zero you out. That just basically means that there will be no remaining balance. And then a lot of times it means that your FAFSA that you received, they're going to take that FAFSA and they're going to use that for your room and board, your 19 meals a week, your housing, and then they're going to give you an athletic scholarship for your tuition and books, which will leave you with a zero remaining balance. So if they say we're going to zero you out, that's what that means. A full scholarship. What does a full scholarship mean? That means different things to different people. I will tell you right now, when I was at certain colleges, we had full scholarships, a true full scholarship, which meant we could give you a full athletic scholarship and your Pell Grant, which is roughly, if you get max Pell Grant, is roughly $3,700 a semester. We could take that $3,700 a semester and put it back in your pocket. So if you're receiving Pell Grant, make sure to bring that conversation up if you're talking about athletic scholarships. Hey, coach, I hear you want to give me an athletic scholarship. Will I get to keep my FAFSA money? That's a conversation that's definitely worth having. A rollover. I will tell you now, no matter what you hear from people, there are certain colleges that can give you in-state tuition your first semester. There are ways that that can be done. Not all the time, but it's always worth asking a coach about their rollover policy. So a rollover just means, hey, when can I get rolled over to an in-state student? So if you're dealing with a state school, whether it's a university, a community college, an NAI, well, there's no state NAIA colleges. But if you're dealing with a state college, ask the coach about the rollover and say, hey, do you guys roll students over first semester? Are you guys able to roll students over second semester from out of state to in state? That's a big difference in tuition. That could be a game changer for you. So that's always a question worth asking. Um, a coach who's interested in you, they won't send you a scholarship or a letter of intent um, until you verbally commit to them. And right now, high school students are not getting athletic scholarships to college that often. It is, you have to be the best of the best and you have to have a great strategy to get an athletic scholarship. And I would suggest if you get an offer, and you like it and you want to go, verbalize it sooner than later. Just because they offer you that scholarship doesn't mean if you come back in 2 weeks and say, hey, I'm ready to commit, it doesn't mean that scholarship will still be on the table. It's a first come, first serve. So if they're offering you a scholarship, they're offering that same scholarship to two, three, four other student athletes. College recruiting trends. We talked about it a little bit. So the high school athletes, it's getting harder and harder. I think a week ago they just had another ruling for the 2022 class, and they're getting back an extra year of eligibility. Whether or not they can find a spot for this year to play or next year, they will have another year of eligibility. So the transfer portal, obviously, that's always a hot topic. What the transfer portal basically has done has created the offers for athletic scholarships later in the school, later in the year. So as opposed to before, when student athletes would get offered maybe at the beginning of their senior year or at the end of their junior year, in a lot of cases, they're not offering those scholarships until after the transfer portal is opened up and they've taken a look and they've tried to see what they can get. Obviously, those players are older, they're more physically developed. Um, they've already proven themselves in the sense they've already been away from home. You're a high school athlete. You haven't been away from home yet. You haven't proven yourself from a academic standpoint at the college level. Um, there are a lot of reasons why college coaches want players who have already been in a college system and have already been away from home. So you'll see that, the transfer portal is always going to be number one. And then prep school or junior college, that's always a debate, but it's either they're two or three. And the last is always high school. No matter what side of the debate you fall on, high school is always the last in the pecking order. NIL and collective money. So that's a hot topic. A lot of people think NIL and collective money are the same thing. They're not. So the money that the colleges are giving out, it's really collective money. A lot of people refer to it as NIL money. It's not the same thing. NIL money is when you get it from a company, a Chick-fil-A, a McDonald's. That's usually like the best of the best players in the country get NIL deals from major corporations. There are smaller corporations now that are giving out NIL deals. But the collective money is probably the largest pot of money that students are receiving money from. That is also changing this year. Initially, they were giving out the collective money as a lump sum at the beginning of the year. Now, starting this year, that's going to be a monthly check. So, anyways, either the scholarships take place very, very early for like your best players, ninth and 10th grade, or they take place very, very late, like after or towards the end of your senior season. So it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. Benefits to targeting your local Maryland schools. So the two of the best things out there are the Maryland Guaranteed Access Grant. That's $18,000 a year for any 4-year college in the state of Maryland. The requirements for that is that you complete the FAFSA and create the MD profile by March 1st. And there's no essay you have to write to be considered for that. It's just that you complete the FAFSA and you create your MD CAPS profile by March 1st. The one downside, the one challenge with it is that a lot of times you won't know if you get awarded that money until like April, end of March, early April-ish. So that can be a challenge when you're trying to decide where you want to go because you don't know if you're going to get that money or not. The Maryland Promise Scholarship, that's a full tuition scholarship to your local community college. That comes through, it's the same criteria. You have to complete your FAFSA, you have to complete your MD profile by March 1st to be considered for that. There's no essay you have to write. And if you receive that like once again, that's a full tuition scholarship to your local community college. FAFSA opens October 1st. I would usually give it just a week just for the system to work out the kinks before you complete the FAFSA. At every high school, we have college career navigators like myself that you can go and receive help completing your FAFSA. So if you have questions, your point of contact will be your college career navigator. So basically, you may not need a full athletic scholarship to have everything covered. If you receive the Maryland Guaranteed Access Grant, which is $18,000, and you receive the FAFSA, the Pell Grant, which is $7,400, that's $25,400 of free money. That's a lot of money for some of our Maryland 4-year schools. Things to keep in mind when you talk to these colleges. So for example, there's 17 Maryland community college athletic programs in the state of Maryland. Out of those 17 colleges, there's only 2 community colleges in the state of Maryland that have dorms. So that means the other 15, you're living off of campus. Why is this important? Why is this information important? Well, if you're going to live off campus, that means you're going to be in an apartment with 2, 3, 4, 5 other players, and everybody in that apartment has to sign a lease. Make sure if that's the route you end up going, that these are people who are responsible. Because I can tell you right now, as a former college coach who was a college coach at a college that did not have dorms, that we had off-campus housing, if one of the student athletes does not pay their monthly bills, you can be evicted over a certain amount of time. Nobody wants to deal with that. So make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, and make sure to ask the questions about dorms and off-campus housing. And on the flip side of it, there are some smaller levels of community college athletics where you would think, in my mind, when I'm talking to a community college, you would think that there's no requirement for you to live on campus. But there are some community colleges I can think of in West Virginia, for example, where they require you to live on campus. So if you're thinking about, well, I can find an apartment out here for $1,100 a month in a certain parts of West Virginia, and I can split it between me and another student athlete, make sure to ask the question, hey, is it required that freshmen live on campus? Any athletic scholarship, no matter what level, no matter what organization, whether it's NCAA, NJCAA, NAIA, they are annual scholarships. They do not have to renew your scholarship the following year. So don't think because you have a scholarship, you're good for the next 4 to 5 years. No, you have to be responsible and live up to your end of the deal. So don't get lackadaisical when you get a scholarship. I can tell you a lot of stories where students receive a scholarship coming out of high school and they take their foot off the gas. That is not the time to take your foot off the gas. I can promise you that. That's the time to even work harder than you've ever worked hard before. Things not to do. This is very, very important. This might be one of the most important slides. Scholarship double dipping. I've been in conversations before where a student has been on the verge of receiving a full athletic scholarship, and during the conversation with the college coach has asked the college coach, like, hey, I really want to go Division 1, or I really want to go Division 2. If I sign this scholarship with your program and then in 2 or 3 weeks I get another offer to this scholarship, can I still accept the second scholarship right away? And in that conversation, that kid, he was not offered that full scholarship based on that remark specifically. Social media recklessness. Obviously, you want your social media to be as professional as possible. And a lot of times I encourage parents to take control of some of their student athletes' social media. But just make sure that anything that's negative on social media that can lose you a scholarship offer before you even receive it. And I will say, I have some college coaches, their pet peeve, when they look at your social media, some of them will look how often you post about your sport. So if you're posting about your sport 2 to 3 times a week, they correlate that with your passion for your sport. So I would always suggest that you post 2 to 3 times a week regarding your specific sport on your social media. Um, Passive waiting game. Don't there, so some people say, hey, if you're good enough, they'll find you. That is not the case, I promise you. If you take all the prospective college athletes in the country or the world, you're talking about this many prospective college athletic scholarship recruits, right? But if you take the amount of college coaches, there's this many. How can this many college coaches cover this many potential scholarship athletic students? It's not possible. So that's when you had to be very proactive in your outreach to these college coaches. Obviously, if you have someone who knows college sports or knows sports, it's always good to have someone like that to advocate for you, whether it be your high school coach, your travel coach, a parent who's played college sports, anyone who can kind of help you. That goes a long way. Conversations about playing time. I will tell you right now, if you're being recruited and you bring up guaranteed playing time to a college coach, 9 out of 10 times they're going to be done with you before they even get started. Premature transfer plans. So if you're talking to a coach and you're saying, well, hey, coach, how does transferring work after my first year? That that's not going to work. I'm telling you right now, if you bring up that conversation early in the process, there's a chance they may not offer you, or if they have offered you, but you haven't signed the scholarship yet, they may take it off the table. No college coach wants to hear you talk about, hey, what is the transfer process before you even get on campus, right? Like, keep those conversations to once the season is over and you can talk about recruitment. If you're a sophomore and you're going to junior college, obviously you can bring that up a little earlier. But if you're a freshman and you haven't even stepped foot on campus, I would not bring up that conversation. Red shirt hesitation, well, that's going out the window. There's no longer red shirting in the NCAA. Basically, you're losing a year if you red shirt now. If you decide not to play, you're going to lose a year. So that term is going to be. I should have took that off the presentation. Um, NCAA eligibility. I'm not going to dive deep into this. I want to remain. I want some time to remain for questions. But basically, if you're at an MCPS school and you want to know whether or not your classes are certified through the NCAA, you can come to your MCPS course list. And if you click on it, it will bring you to our current course list. And if you go down starting on page 20, you'll start to see what classes are NCAA certified and you'll see what classes are not. The majority of our classes are NCAA certified. There are a few that aren't, but it's always good to stay on top of that. Hold on one second. And then, we talk about the requirements for your 16 core classes. I want to skip past some of this. So this is an NCAA eligibility worksheet on the left or NCAA GPA calculator. So there's a link to it. So basically, if you click on the link, it'll bring you to this worksheet on the left, and you can plug in your 16 core classes as you go, and you can receive a grade, and it will calculate your GPA so you see where you stand and if you're on track or not. We went over the course catalog of school of trying to figure out whether or not your classes are accredited through the NCAA. All right, that's it. If you stuck around this long, I put a college sports panel that's coming up this Saturday. We will have college athletic directors and college coaches at the sports panel. I also put in our Instagram accounts and our YouTube account. There is a link to the flyer for the college sports panel on the Clarksburg CCN and on the other College Career Navigators Instagram page, or you can just click on that link. But we want to take some time to answer questions. Does anybody have any questions?